Hello everyone and welcome back to, well, the same roadmap as the other day. Well, part 2. So yeah, 24th of August 2023, but we're back. This is part 2. It's probably going to be another behemoth of a roadmap. I'm sort of hoping it's slightly shorter, yeah, probably quite a long roadmap. So, ding ding ding, seconds out, round 2 for the part 2 of the 2024 roadmap. So yeah, that's all just sort of a recap of what's going on. Ralphan, okay, PC editor, free roam, Scenario Planner 2.0, Livery Designer 2.0, Formation Designer, Photo Mode, new scoring, ease of access improvements, Haptics, Volumetric Fog, audio and source trips, and music. Cool, and there's the Ralphan TV schedule, so feel free to pause the video if you want to know what dates they're going to be streaming certain things. Yeah, feel free to have a look. So, the PC editor. So, way back in 2019, we spoke about our desire to bring the Unreal Engine 4 editor to our PC players. Well, it's taken a little while. In fact, it's probably actually 2018. I think it was 2018. So I think it was before Northern Transpennine released, so it might have been 2018. Saying that while we're delighted to be able to offer access to the PC editor to players with Train Sim 4, but what is the editor and what possibilities will this enable for you? Our executive producer Matt has the details. So what is the PC editor? Train Sim Mode is built using our heavily modified version of the UE4 editor. All the trains you drive and routes you drive them on have been built by the team with this tool. The PC editor we're talking about here is exactly that. It's a special build of the editor that works outside of our development environment, but otherwise is identical and will let you create any content you like, exactly like our team does. Tell us a little bit about what players will be able to do with the PC editor. The PC editor allows you to create anything that works in the game, including new routes, new trains, new scenarios, and even new timetables for service mode. The command line tools for running the simulations to create the timetables is all part of the package as well, as is the packaging tool used to create the package files that allow you to share your creations with friends. I mean, this is going to be cool. I mean, I really hope, I know there's a lot of modding which goes on for Train Sim World. So I really hope sort of out of the editor we can see literally full scale routes being made, but then being made, just unofficially, but then actually maybe Dovetail being like, oh, this is actually quite good. Let's, hire these people to actually do the route, to get it officially into the game. That would be cool. You won't be able to modify existing content, however, because Unreal uses a process called cooking for content as part of the process to create the version that you get on Steam to play. This cooking process strips out a lot of data from files, which is unnecessary to run the game and only necessary to edit it. As a result, those files can't be opened in the editor. We've done a lot of work to get around this in many cases, so you can open cooked routes and fly around them, and you even play the entire game using the play in editor functionality, which means you can then use live debugging tools and so forth to review what you're doing. Creating entirely new routes and trains is perfectly possible, but adding to existing routes is going to be a challenge, as in tweaking trains. That said, we haven't put any specific blocks in anywhere, and one of the areas we plan to review going forward is where players are specifically looking for something to work, and we can try to make that happen to make it easier to do what you're looking for, where assets are simply needed to source form. Again, we're reviewing what possibilities are to provide these in future, and we'll be looking forward at your feedback and see where to prioritise as well. Adding new scenarios and service modes to routes, however, is very much achievable and a really great place to start your editing journey, as you'll be amazed at how much you can achieve just there and then, and take that and enhance your skills as you go. So what functionality will it have on launch? We are ensuring that the scenario and service mode workflows work smoothly to get started. We don't foresee any problems with creation of new routes and trains, but fully expect creators to find limitations when it comes to attempting to modify existing content due to how the packaging system works on Unreal. We'll be listening to your feedback and going forwards, making it possible. How easy is it to use? The Unreal Editor is a professional game development tool, and such is very short on wizards and guides built into the tool. You can quickly lose your way, or more likely struggle to even figure out where to get started. There's no simple create new scenario button, for example. That said, there are a lot of great Unreal Engine tutorials on YouTube from Epic Games themselves that provide some fantastic guides to all the areas of the main Unreal Engine. And we plan on creating several videos and articles to show you the specifics of Train Sim World's version of the editor as well. Cool. It's been a long time coming. Why is now, and why is it the right time to bring the editor to Train Sim World? A couple of reasons why. The first is that we're stable with the core game now and comfortable that there aren't going to be any major breaking changes that will invalidate user creations going forward. Since we first talked about the editor a few years ago, there are two major core upgrades, each of which would have wiped the community creations back to zero again, and numerous smaller changes that would have caused problems. There's a lot more stability now, which makes it a great time to get this out to creators. The second reason is we drove the team towards the release now that there's a huge focus on putting power to do whatever you want in Train Sim 4 into the players and creators' hands, whether it's on-the-fly creation with free roam or easy to use in-game tools like Scenario Planner, through to advanced creation tools like the PC Editor. It was an obvious part of the puzzle, and we developed this theme for the release. This is the beta of the editor. What does the future of developing the editor entail? We want to see what creators do, where they have problems, and what we can do to help. There may be a range of options available to solve problems that come up and ease the flow of making content for creators. So we're going to be looking at the feedback and working with players to see what we can do to help. That may involve finding ways to make more cooked content editable, providing source assets to use, or creating tutorials to show how these things are done in a clear way. We will be led by you and what you tell us to make the best content in Train Sim 4. Will console players be able to enjoy player-made content in the future? We're striving towards that, but it's very different and challenging path compared to the open PC platforms where files can be shared easily by creators and players, and our ultimate goal is to integrate the editor with Creators Club and provide a path that allows content to be uploaded there and made available to console owners, but it's a lot of challenges along the way to overcome. And we'll also be working with the top creators to invite them to take their work into the third-party program. Awesome, that's really good, where of course it will then be available to console players as normal. And that was basically what I was trying to get at a few minutes ago. You know, if a modder or something creates, I don't know, the Chatham mainline route, which is really, really good, Nidatal barn quality, but, it's not actually official, so not really much can be done with it. It'll be great to get Dovetail on that, and then they can then make it official and third party. It'd be great. Will there be support materials to help players use the tool more effectively? We'll be looking to create some tutorials and guides for content creation, starting with scenarios and service mode gameplay, and then we'll build that out based on what creators tell us they want to know. And we're also inviting some of the best creators to share their tips and ideas, and really encouraging the community to help each other as well. Will this help to blood the next generation of Train Sim World partner developers? Absolutely. The release of the editor means that there's every reason to start learning and creating, and come to us with your ideas for content. We're keen to see what you create and very much willing, looking to talk to creators about joining the third party program and get your content shared with the widest possible audience. And we'll also be looking out for creators who specialise in areas and may want to assist us as second party developers, working in specific areas to help our team on projects as well. So there's always an opportunity to do more of your skills, and there's a little debrief there of what it's going to be. Cool. Free roam mode, another new feature. We can't wait for you to try out our sandbox mode, enabling you to spawn anything on any route. It's off the rails mode on steroids. In a nutshell, what is free roam mode? Sometimes you just want to take the train of your choice and whatever you want with it. It's not about planning a scenario or doing a service. You just want to explore, make it up as you go along. And that's what free roam is all about. Free roam mode will be available for your entire collection of routes and trains. Give us an example of a session you could do with free roam mode. Let's say you start on foot at Lindor and begin by spawning the training centre 8F steam locomotive with some coaches in a platform. You can set a path out to the yard just outside the station and drive the locomotive there. Upon arrival, you can get out the train, spawn some wagons and go back to your 8F, uncouple the coaches and go get the wagons, and then set a path to the yard further down the line. Along the way, you might see an interesting siding, and you feel like it would be fun to collect some more wagons from there. So you stop by near it, head over to it, spawn wagons, go back to your 8F, and then adjust your path to take you into the yard for the new wagons. Once you've got them, you can set the new path back out to the main line to continue. Another example has been around since day one of the game, which is the old sandpatch grade route. We've had free roam type scenarios that allow the player to switch cars in the yard and have the freedom to do anything they like, but without the ability to leave the yard. Now you can leave the yard and go anywhere, and it's important to note there is no AI trains in free roam. Why should players be excited? This is just unlimited freedom to take anything from your collection and do anything you like. You can start a journey and decide to change it as you go because you see something interesting or just want to change things up. This is Sandbox Trains. What has initial feedback from beta players been like? Beta team players have really been enjoying the flexibility it offers, allowing them to explore parts of the route without necessarily having to drive all the way there. It's also proven popular with the photographers in the team who will spawn on foot at interesting locations, spawn trains where they want and take their shot. And going back to Sandpatch Grade, how many hours did people spend operating trains to move them to get the perfect shot around the turntable at Cumberland? That's really easy to do now. How easy is it to use? Extremely easy to use. You're literally popping trains into existence wherever you want them and clicking on the map so that you say, I want to go here, and the sim will figure out points and signals for you automatically. What's been your personal favourite run when testing? Don't have any particular preferences, but when it comes to trains, I've been doing all sorts. But I think my favourite aspect is like putting the class 101 on Peak Forest. No need to think about a scenario, just spawn in a train, set a path, and go. Which hopefully at some point, diesels on Peak Forest will actually just become a DLC. Probably should have been there since launch. Probably would have made the route much more popular and much more successful. I think Peak Forest is a bit of a. I don't imagine it did very well. I just don't really ever see anybody on Peak Forest or talk about Peak Forest. But if there was diesels on there, it might have been a different story, as well as Steam, obviously. Can you spawn trains in timetable mode using the free roam feature? Yes, this is one of the most exciting features in the release, and allowing you to take the living world of the normal timetable and service mode and add your own train in it and do what you want. In and around those trains, you'll begin to appreciate the way the control system, known as the dispatcher, can guide you around dynamically in amongst those trains. And be careful though, with great power comes great responsibility. In reality, trains just don't spawn out of thin air, and this means you have potential to throw the organised world into chaos. Sounds fun though, doesn't it? And there's a little thingy there you can have a little read of. And then we then go on to the Scenario Planner 2.0. Right, Scenario Planner 2.0. Getting a long-awaited lick of paint of both Scenario Planner and Livery Designer, with some awesome new features to help you create some great content more seamlessly for you and other players to enjoy. What new features are coming to Scenario Planner for Train Sim 4? Can you explain a little bit about each? Scenario Planner 2.0 is reworked into a brand new user interface, bringing it more in line with the rest of the UI in the game, making it simpler to understand and easier to use. Beyond the UI changes, there's a range of new features and enhancements that will allow you to make more comprehensive scenarios as well. The changes begin at the very start of the tool. You can now set a description of the scenario, which used to be auto-generated, allowing you to add some personal flavour to it. Further, that description will now be shown at the beginning of the run when a player starts it, so you can use it to set the scene for the player as well. So that's quite cool. It's almost like a bit like on Train Sim Classic when you added an instruction in, and it sort of pops up at the start of the sort of scenario saying, hello driver of 1 Yankee 22, you're going to be going somewhere. Creators can now set the start time of the scenario separately to the time the player service starts. We think the primary use of this is going to be allowing the set scenario to start 5 to 10 minutes before the player, to allow some action to get moving in front of the player or around the player before they set off. And this will allow you to get another train to depart the same station as the player and get ahead of them, for example, to cause some non-green lights right from the start. Another massively requested feature from creators is being able to specifically set the time of year and the weather that the scenario will use. We've made the full dialogue of options available, so you can choose dynamic weather or set a specific custom pattern. I like the sound of that. The most important new features in Scenario Planner 2.0 is that you can now chain paths together. So imagine on Vorarlberg line you could start in Lindor and run to Listenau, then run from Listenau to Bludenz, and then from Bludenz back to Lindor. This allows you to create a much more diverse range of scenarios, including changing ends and so forth. Exciting stuff. Lastly, we made it so that AI trains can now start and end their journeys in portals, allowing for much easier AI usage on corridors. Previously, you had to start all AI trains on a marker and then end them there, and it became a challenge to balance out those start and end points, when really the end goal was just to get something going in the other direction. Using portals is all now much easier, and it's important to know that some features such as portal usage and chaining paths may only work on Train Sim 4 routes, or may work to varying degrees on older routes depending on how they were originally set up. Why do we choose these features specifically? We spent time looking at what the community was doing with the tools, reading the numerous polls and forum posts about what was the most requested feature were, and made our own wish list for where we wanted to take the system. What has been the most challenging part to develop? Chaining paths was the most challenging part to develop because it required a completely different take on the UI to allow for a concept of a service not just doing one thing but doing multiple things, and the implications for how all of that had to work. It is also influenced how we make the scenario path, since the paths have had endpoints that can be joined together in this way too. And what will it enable players to do? Creators should now be able to create far more varied and interesting scenarios. You're already making an amazing range of content that's shared on Creators Club, and this will expand that greatly. The range of content we see on the Creators Club already exceeds what we'd expected, and this is going to make it even more fun and varied. And there's a sort of a summary there of what you are going to see. Lovely. AI portals and chain paths are just for Train Sim 4 content, I see. Then you've got Livery Designer 2.0. In Train Sim 4, alongside the sweep of changes coming to Creators Club, the Livery Designer has been revamped to better help the player create the best liveries they can with these new features. Our associate producer Kat has more details. So what new features are coming to Livery Designer for Train Sim 4? More layers. Before, the older Livery Designer had a max number of 300 layers for the player to replace on their model. Now the max number has gone up to 1,000 layers, allowing players to create much more detailed designs. Organised layer lists. Instead of placing all the layers in one long list, the layers will now be separated by the side of the model they're placed on. For example, layers placed on the front of the model will be listed separately from the layers listed on the back of the layers. With the layer number being increased, this organisation will help players keep track of the components of their creations. Type text. Livery Designer 2.0 will still have letters as selectable layers, but another feature has been added to extend on this. Players will now be able to type out full words and preview them before placing them onto their models. This will make the task of adding text a lot easier by taking out the pain of placing and size individual letters together. Why do we choose them specifically? These features were chosen to help players create the types of liveries they want. From observing what people have been sharing on Creators Club, we have an in-depth idea of what kind of creations they want to make, and so we added new features to help them. What has been the most challenging part to develop? The most challenging part was the new UI and type text feature. The new UI overlay is a lot more detailed than the previous one, and it has provided challenges for the UI to make sure the player experience hasn't been impacted negatively by the changes. Type text has been a new challenge for the engineering team, and whilst there were teething issues, we are ecstatic with the results and excited to see what players will create. And there is a little summary of what there is. And then we then go on to photo mode, which is very exciting. So yeah, let's go on to photo mode. And then we're on to photo modes. A striker pose. Ever had that moment where you've seen the perfect rail fan opportunity slip through your fingers as you were travelling too quickly? Or worried about operating your train? With photo mode, you'll have the freedom to take amazing screenshots of both your personal use and to share off your creation. Is that a 4.2? That's like 4.25. Is that a 4.25? Yeah, is it 4.25? Yeah, Deutsche Bahn. I think that's a 4.25. Yeah, because it's got like the high up door. I don't think that's a 4.23. Yeah, I think that's a 4.25 there. Okay, that's cool. In a nutshell, what is photo mode? Photo mode is a game feature new to Train Sim World probably should have been in the game many years ago, but anyway. With this mode, the player can pause mid-game and switch to the camera view that they can position in the pause world to get the best shot they can. They can adjust the image by changing the contrast, saturation, brightness, and camera focus. So basically what you've seen on other games like the bus. Train Sim doesn't have a photo mode, but you can just pause break the game. How can players access it? Players can access photo mode through the pause menu. After the player has taken all their shots, they can back out of the mode the same way they back out of the pause menu. Would be nice if maybe there was a hotkey for it. A bit like when you hold the pause button, it turns off the HUD. Maybe you could hold square. Well, no, 'cause that's a shift now, isn't it? But maybe you could hold something to bring up photo mode. I know L1 and R1 together at the same time, and it brings up photo mode. Let's see, what can they do with their new railfan shots? These images can be uploaded to Dovetail Live and used images to be used in Creators Club when uploading a new creation. Some nice shots there as well. That's a nice one. There you go, photo mode in a nutshell. Scoring 2.0. So with Train Sim 4, we want to reward driving expertise. So we've shaken up our scoring system. Map returns with the finer details. Why do we feel like we needed to change the scoring system? Over the years, we found the scoring system has needed improvement when it comes to rewarding scores based on better driving standards. It was giving so many points for an accurate stop that was on time that it basically made no sense to stick to the speed limits for the sake of getting those accurate time points. Scoring is important. It's popular with a lot of our players because they use it to get some second opinion of how their journey went and how it compares to previous journeys they've done or their friends have done. It's not for everyone, so we have turned a setting to turn off the score display, but for the majority that do, it's very important. For me, I don't care about the scoring system. I just want to get in and drive a train with the HUD off, A to B. Yeah, for me, I don't care about the scoring system, but it is nice to see though. But I'd rarely look at the amount of points. Please give a brief summary of how we're improving it for both advanced and newer players. We've put a lot less reward in for your accurate stops and for your on-time stops, and balance that with ability to get more points for the ride in between. If you run with the safety systems on, you'll get even more points during the run, and we'll give you a few extra points for making sure the headlights and such are correctly too. And is it raining? Get those wipers on. Because of how the scores have been adjusted, we wanted to acknowledge that a lot of our players who simply aren't interested in using safety systems, but still want to feel good about their runs because they're doing well in every other aspect. So we've added a new medal tier, Platinum, which is for those who do a great but do with the safety systems on. If you don't want to use safety systems, you'll still be able to earn a gold medal. Oh, there you go, there's the thingy as well. Why do I feel like Platinum was in the game before? Although maybe it's just so similar to silver, isn't it? Platinum and silver, so probably that's why. Cool. Can you run us through an example? So you earn 30 points per quarter mile that you drive within the limit, and another 30 if you do that with the safety systems on. Another 5 if the train is set up correctly, so your maximum per quarter mile is 65 points. If you drive a little over the limit, you'll lose half of it. If you drive more than a little over the limit, you'll lose a lot, and won't gain any new points until you get it back within the speed limit again. If it's raining and you don't have the wipers on, you'll lose a small percentage of your gain points each quarter mile, so you probably could actually do minus points then. If you are uncoupling to another vehicle and you do it too hard, that will take out some of the points you get for completing that coupling objective too, so be gentle. Stop accuracy bonuses have gone from 500 to 160, and the on-time bonus has gone from 500 down to 80, both scaled according to how far from ideal you are. Is this only for Train Sim 4 content? Since this is a new scoring system, it has been applied to content specifically, so we will be using on Train Sim 4 content from now on, and older content will still use the older scoring system. What would a player need to do in order to achieve the new Platinum tier medals? Excel at the drive while using the safety systems. Boom. So there is a rundown of the scoring and medals rework. Yeah, nice I suppose. Ease of access improvements. Whilst for a lot of you your experience of Train Sim is a distant memory, however we are continuing to improve a Train Sim newbie's first time playing the game, and we've also bundled in some UI and accessibility improvements we think all players will enjoy too. What do we mean by ease of access? This covers a range of different topics, but it's really just about making the game more understandable helping players find things to do that will make it more comfortable they can achieve, and then trying to give them some more help when they're actually in the cab. Trains and railways are both hard, much harder than is apparent until you're actually in the hot seat and someone's saying, now shut this cab down, change the junction and put the train over there. This covers a difficulty rating for each train. Scenarios now tell you what makes up their difficulty ratings, adding the class 323 and 8F to the training centre, adding gates to trains control, a minimal HUD for all users. And yeah, you can see you've actually got... Oh yeah, feel free to pause and then read these sort of longer bits as well if you want. I was just doing sort of the main points, the key points. You've actually got sort of a Train Sim Classic type HUD now in the top right there. So you can sort of see, I think it's, yeah, 2 kilometres ahead. You can see the signals and the speed, really like that. Reset train simulation physics in the pause menu. Missing a station will just carry on to the next one. Now that is very good. That's fantastic actually, having that, because yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's actually really good, because the amount of times I've heard people overshooting and then basically, I mean, that's it, you can't do anything else. I mean, if there's a signal, I mean, you can't do anything. So having that is going to be an absolute game changer, and especially for new players who might overshoot stations. You know, that's really good. Coupling, uncoupling can now be set to semi-automatic. Okay, cool. And again, feel free to pause, go through the big blurb, basically just saying what it is. Tutorial recommendations, and how do we determine a locomotive's difficulty tiering? What types of controls does it have, such as a simple control combined handle or a more complex multiple handle system? How much you need to do normal operations with the train, like cutting in brakes or just get in and go? How easy are the brakes to operate? Does it have any limitations or behaviours such as cutouts that might make it more of a challenge to operate? A variety of cases are considered to help guide you towards trains that you can achieve success with. And of course, this is just guidance. You can still pick any train anytime, but with the setting you at least now know you're potentially getting yourself in for. Are these changes customizable in the settings menu? The settings and accessible menus have been expanded considerably with more options, and there's even a new player assist menu. How can they benefit both new players and hardcore players? Hopefully you can gather from the range of new features and changes outlined above that there's something interesting and useful for players of all experiences in the game. New players will find their journey into trains a more predictable and understandable one. Intermediate players will have to ramp up the authenticity of the experience, and advanced players can really aim for that real driver experience, and that's the one we really want to go for. What accessibility changes have we made? One of the consistent bits of feedback that we've had from players with a wide range of accessibility issues is that it would be so much easier if we had a consistent and complete range of key mappings that worked across the trains. Far too often are there essential functions on trains that are not operable from the keyboard and require fine access to operate controls or screens within the trains themselves. For some players, that simply makes the train inaccessible to them. What? Does it mean controls being different for various trains? I don't know. We've gone through and added a vast range of new key mappings that are all rebindable and should cover just about every option in trains, whether you use the keyboard itself to drive them or plug in external hardware as big buttons to issue the key presses. You should now find this significantly more usable and complete. Again, there is a rundown of what it's all about. Right, haptics. This is exciting, especially if you're on PS5. All new for Train Sim 4, haptics are a great way to bolster your immersion whilst playing the game on a controller. What are they and how are we using them? We spoke to our associate producer Jordan for the details. So what do we mean by haptics? What we mean by haptics is the functionality of the controller vibrating during certain events, and even the light bar and speaker support on certain platforms. Haptics really helps to provide a sensation representative of actions happening in game. What haptics have we implemented for Train Sim 4? So track rumble, throttle and brake lever, level vibration, collision with buffers, couplings, track switches interaction, hovering over interactable controls in the cabs, train safety systems alerts via controller speaker, and next signal aspects shown on light bar. And I think that's going to be PlayStation only, because Xbox doesn't have a light bar. So I don't think it has a light bar. I mean, it has the little Xbox light, but that's about it. Are there any differences between different platforms? The only difference is that the controller speaker and light bar support is for PS4 and PS5 only, as the other controllers do not contain those features. Is this for Train Sim World 4 content? The only thing that will work on Train Sim World 4 content is the train safety system alerts via the controller speaker. All the other haptics functionality will work on everything when played on Train Sim World 4. Why should players be excited for the changes? Players should be very excited for the feature, as it adds a whole nother level of immersion when playing Train Sim World 4. When things are at the toughest, with safety systems sounding and red signals up ahead, the visual and audio feedback from the controller really helps to make you feel more in control about the decisions you make driving trains, to better be able to react to things happening around you. The vibration on the controller aids for the sense of driving the trains from the comfort of the sofa. All of these haptics can be amended in the gamepad settings to either increase or decrease the intensity of vibration, the volume of audio, and the brightness of the light bar, and even disable some of them. Cool, right. Also, there no way it's gone foggy volumetric fog, which is very exciting, and it is. It looks so good. Fangirling aside, volumetric fog provides a really important depth to our graphics, and it also means headlights can be hindrances rather than helps in certain conditions, as in real life. And let's check in with our senior software engineer, Alex. What benefits do volumetric fog provide players? Whereas previously fog could only have brightness across the scene, volumetric fog allows fog to be lit up by various individual lights in the world. This allows the sun to cast God rays at sunrise and sunset, as well as train headlights and some scenery, to produce beams of light when it gets dark. And just look at that, I mean, it does look really good. Really looks good. And this as well, sort of the fog on the lights. It's just, it's nice to see, because I mean, it's exactly how it is in real life. So it really does. I mean, this one here is probably one of the best examples. You know, if you've been stood at a station at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. on a cold, crisp November, December morning, you'll get sort of a hazy sort of fog. But you won't really see it that well. But then you'll see it, when the lights are on, the station lights are on, sort of within it. I suppose same with rain, really. Sort of when you got the lights on it, you see it raining, but otherwise outside you can't. Is this for Train Sim World 4 content? It has been built for TOD4. The lighting system introduced in Train Sim World 3 and to take advantage. It therefore is compatible with basically Train Sim World 3 onwards. And will it impact performance? As volumetric fog is inherently a more expensive technique, it will have a slight performance impact. For this reason, it's available exclusively on PC and more powerful console hardware. PS5, Xbox Series XS, and Xbox One X. It can also be toggled in settings for those who prefer higher frame rates. Fog isn't the only feature filling the room. Let's play it there with our fabulous new sounds and audio. And again, there we go. Alright, sounds and audio. With Train Sim 4, we've really pushed the boat or train out with our recording and mixing audio, getting real-life recordings from visits to Metrolink in California, Siemens in Germany, and of course, Scotsman in its pomp. Members from our audio design team, Dale, Ryan and Matthew, are here to tell us about the making of the audio of Train Sim 4. So what was it like working with licensed partners to get recordings? Working with our licensed partners was a really positive experience. Everyone out in LA was so into what we were doing, and allowed us great access into parts of the train we would otherwise never have experienced or captured for the game. Metrolink were a vital resource and continue to be with us throughout implementation. Working with LNER couldn't have been any smoother. They were extremely helpful and interested in what we were doing, and were eager to help in any way they could. They were very facilitating for performing all sorts of weird and wacky manoeuvres, so we could get any number of audio possibilities for relay, shut-offs, squeaks and creaks, which helped bring our loco to life. And also a big shout out to the experts from Metrolink, who have been invaluable help for working on the F125 and Rotums, and in providing feedback. And again, it's really good. Look at that. Really nice looking locomotives. I mean, slightly odd design locomotives. I'm trying to think of what that looks like, but it's it's cool either way. And you can see a team out there recording bits and bobs. And someone actually in one of the Discord servers said this was actually a Surfliner coach. so maybe something which is coming in the future. What techniques did the team need to employ to ensure as authentic recording as possible? We've recently purchased new recorders, the Zoom F3s, which have been used for these recordings. Our first time capturing audio in 32-bit floating point. This is all just gibberish, which is perfect for recording locomotives as it mitigates any distortion from loud sounds. Techniques that were employed to capture authentic recordings included stereo XY pattern mics inside the cab to reference the driver's perspective, and using a shotgun mic on close-up interactable features like levers, buttons and switches. And we also utilised extremely high quality condenser microphones attached via magnets and cable ties within windshields to the undersides of cabs and passenger cars, pointed at the wheels and axles to capture running sounds at all speeds. And these were recorded using Zoom F3s, which are specifically made for failure-free field recording. The input signal is recorded in 32-bit float WAV format, which can retain the resolution at the time of recording and reproduces sound without degradation, retaining the original resolution even after. I don't know. Audio has resolution. What? Finally, we utilise mid-side recording techniques for every horn in order to have more control over the width of our stereo image, whilst maintaining a high-quality centre image, perfect for our horns. And you can see a mic's attached. That's like an ACS64 cab. Obviously, it's not, but similar. There you go. See all the mics set up there, spying, seeing what's going on. And you got the zip ties on there as well. How many recordings and images did we take in Metrolink trip? 9,073 photos taken and 55 hours of audio recorded. Now that is impressive. It's not a holiday out there. What has been the most challenging part of collecting the source material? The most challenging part of collecting the source material was probably the long hours in hot cab cars with little sleep and jet lag. The level of detail we have to capture can sometimes take hours in one spot, and a lot of time and patience is required from both parties. Making sure you remember to eat and drink can be quite hard. Probably the most challenging part for me was helping organise the logistics of the trip for recording. It was only my second week on the job, but I was in charge of verifying all the equipment and transporting it to and from the site each day as I was driving us around. Needless to say, I was paranoid I'd forgotten something for the entire week. Do you have any fun anecdotes from your trip? Some recording equipment was sent to Austria for recording the Vectron and actually got stuck in customs and couldn't be used. Oh dear. One time when we were recording the internal aircon sounds for the rotating passenger cars, we had all the doors shut and everything off, so we shut the power down to record the sound of the AC kicking in, and after a long day we had realised we were locked in with no way out for a while. Brilliant. Our guide at the LNER depot in Edinburgh had one of the thickest Fife accents I've ever heard. Now I'm Scottish and I could barely understand him, so I have no idea how Edinburgh kept up. What were noticed to happen after the recordings have taken place? Upon returning, all 55 hours of audio needs to be downloaded from SD cards and catalogued for our library. Listening through each recording can be a bit laborious, as some of them can be especially long, such as the recordings from the bogies, as we need to identify in the recordings what sounds each recorder captured. Then we embark on the process of editing out the individual sound, cleaning the sounds, making loops if necessary, and then implementing them in Engine. What's your favourite train smell for audio-wise? The Vectron, the F125, and the F125. And then we've got train smell for music. Not content, though, with just authentic sounds. We've gone ham on the menu music and audio cues in the game of Train Smell 4. If you watched the first 5 minutes of Dovetail Direct on Tuesday, the City of Rochester Symphony Orchestra gave an emotive rendition of the new track. And at the centre of it, senior community manager composer Ben has the details on how we made the iconic soundscape of Train to Mile 4. What do you have to consider when creating the music for Train to Mile 4? I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm given the freedom to create and write that feels right to me. That doesn't make the process challenge free. I'm very good at getting in my own way and making things difficult for myself. When I found out we were releasing Train to Mile 4, I started writing the main theme before I'd even been asked. I had an idea in mind and I wanted to make that a reality before anything else got in the way. I knew instinctively that I wanted to maintain the theme and motive I developed for the previous iteration of TSW because players had grown attached to that, so I had to be honest. I also knew that I wanted to expand on and take the piece in new directions, introduce some new thematic ideas and go bigger in terms of the overall scale. And from my perspective, that posed a challenge because at its core TSW4 is a hobbyist game. So though I wanted it to sound rousing and inspiring, for it to instill the sense of growing excitement for the journey ahead, I don't want to hype our players into a frenzy and get them ready to go on more of an action-packed FPS. I think we've successfully navigated away from the ambient soundscape of Train Sim 3, which was primarily comprised of very gentle piano, ambient pads and soundscapes, to the full orchestra, piano and choir of Train Sim 4. I'm proud that everyone at Dovetail Games has loved the theme so much that it's inspired all of the other music in the game, prompted us to create a soundtrack as a pre-order benefit on Steam and Epic, and enabled us to film a full music video of the City of Rochester Symphony Orchestra in support of, do you have any favourite tracks? To briefly explain what moments are, each of our 5 new train routes have scenarios, which are scenario-based, condensed experience for our players. For each route, one of these scenarios will have a unique moment where the music is at the centre of the action. That's cool. Flying Scotsman has one. Nice. Right, Train Sim 2 Preservation Crew content. And yes, it's not good news. Very sure to say that at this stage we will not be releasing these updates to Train Sim 2. We knew it was gonna. We knew it was gonna happen. It kept getting pushed back, pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. I mean, most people probably aren't on Train Sim 2 now, so yeah, it's a shame it hasn't happened. But it was blatantly obvious it wasn't going to happen anyway. Rather than have good intentions but no substance, we believe you deserve something concrete. There are many factors at play here. Among other things, various unforeseen technical hurdles have hit when pushing builds together, and which jeopardise content players which already play. And we also want to focus on ensuring Train Sim 4 is as good as we can make it for you. We've also always remained hopeful these improvements will be released, but sadly it's become apparent that it's not possible. Okay, yeah, right. Train Sim 3 and Train Sim 4 patch schedule. Okay, that's all of that. I'll just slowly scroll through that. There we go. So that's all of the bits and bobs which are going to be coming. There we go. But there we go. That's the end of the roadmap. That was very long, but we got there in the end. But that was part 2 of the TSW4 roadmap, the first roadmap of TSW4. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed it. Do put your thoughts in the comments below. Have we got a screenshot somewhere? This is a couple of Metro Link Coach. Links can be found in the usual places: Discord, PayPal, merch store. Apart from that, thanks for coming in, and I hope to see you next time. See you all. Take care. Bye, guys.